let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into a film that tackles some incredibly challenging subject matter. Really difficult.
Yeah, it's based on a harrowing true story.
The film is called Holy Spider, directed by Ali Abbasi. And our guide for this deep dive, the source material we're exploring today, is a review of the film that you provided.
Right, and our mission basically is to use this review to really get a handle on what this film is about, how it navigates its complex, often uncomfortable material.
And pull out the key bits, right.
Exactly. Those important elements, the key insights, maybe some surprising details the review highlights.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in by setting the scene, because the foundation of this film, as the review makes pretty clear, is rooted in something horrifyingly real.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's based on the true case of the Spider Killer. He operated in Mashhad, Iran, back in the early 2000s.
And the facts, just the basic facts from the review, are stark. The real killer murdered 16 sex workers.
16, yeah. And it sounds like the film actually picks things up after victim number 9. So midway through his spree, really.
Okay. So knowing that's the core event, the review then kind of introduces us to the two central figures the film focuses on.
Yeah, the main players.
We have the killer himself, Saeed.
Yes. And what's striking about how the review presents him is that, on the surface, he's shown as a seemingly ordinary guy, like a hardworking family man.
Right. Young wife, 3 kids.
Exactly. But there's definitely more going on there.
Yeah, the review points to his background, right?
Right.
A veteran of the Iran-Iraq War.
And it mentions this apparent sort of mourning over not achieving martyrdom in that conflict. There's this anger like pulsing through him.
Directed at?
It seems directed at the presence of sex workers near the city's main religious shrine. That's the trigger mentioned.
Okay. And then on the other side, we have the person trying to stop him, the journalist.
Yes, Rahimi. The review calls her an intrepid reporter. She comes to Mashhad specifically to investigate these murders.
But it's not easy for her.
Oh, not at all. And the review really emphasizes the huge obstacle she faces just trying to do her job. That seems central.
And these sound like more than just, plot devices. They feel like reflections of the society at the time.
Absolutely. The review gives specific examples. She's not taken serious as a journalist because she's a woman.
Right.
She has to deal with these awful, lewd comments about a past job. She can't even check into a hotel by herself because she's unmarried.
Wow.
And, maybe most disturbingly, she's actually assaulted by the chief of police.
Jeez.
Yeah. So her struggle really illustrates the sexism, the corruption, the sort of rigid social expectations she's pushing against.
Okay, so let's talk about how the film actually tells this story, because the review notes some really specific choices Abbasi made.
Yes, structurally it's interesting. One key decision, which the review compares to an episode of Columbo,
Right, I saw that.
is that from the very beginning that Saeed is the killer. There's no whodunit mystery.
Okay, so the focus isn't on finding the killer. It's more about exploring his mindset, his depraved logic, as the review puts it.
Exactly. And it sounds like the film does this really unflinchingly. It leans right into the horror.
How so?
Well, the review describes extremely graphic death scenes. It notes how the camera just lingers, using intense close-ups on the victim's eyes, mouth, hands, during the struggle.
That sounds difficult to watch.
The reviewer described it as feeling dirty, intrusive. And there's a particularly potent detail mentioned, the explicit use of the victim's headscarf as the weapon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This approach, according to the review, is really intended to make it brutally clear what kind of man Saeed is, and frankly, to make the viewer deeply uncomfortable.
So it's using those serial killer thriller tropes, but pushing them.
Yeah, using them for maximum impact, it seems.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is how the review connects it to other films.
Like Hitchcock.
Yeah, a clear nod to Hitchcock's Frenzy, particularly the murder method and those grotesque close-ups.
Oh.
But the reviewer also felt echoes of films like Seven, maybe Silence of the Lambs, even I Saw the Devil, that kind of dark atmosphere.
Yeah, I can see that. There was also that detail about one specific victim, the older woman.
Yes, that really stood out in the review. The mention of a very elderly sex worker who was struggling just to lift herself onto Saeed's motorbike.
And his reaction.
Well, the reviewer found it appalling and heartbreaking because it highlighted Saeed's absolute lack of mercy, just cold indifference, regardless of her vulnerability.
Right. Okay, moving on to the craft of the film itself. The review specifically calls out the acting and the look of the film.
Yeah, the lead performances. Mehdi Bajestani as Saeed the killer and Zartamir Ebrahimi as Rahimi the journalist. Both are described as phenomenal.
High praise.
Definitely. Bajestani is credited with giving real insight into Saeed's twisted mind, through subtle shifts in body language, this kind of haughtiness about his supposed religious crusade.
And Amir Ebrahimi as Rahimi.
She's positioned as the essential feminist hero the story needed. Her performance is highlighted for its steeliness, its determination.
So they work well together.
The review says their performances are incredibly well-matched in terms of impact and power, really elevating the difficult material.
And the cinematography also got good marks.
Called excellent. And it sounds like it plays a huge role in building that atmosphere we talked about.
How so?
Instead of just showing Mashhad as this holy city, the visuals make it feel seedy and sticky, often lit by harsh fluorescent street lamps.
Not glamorous.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And there were those inglorious close-ups, not just during the violence, but on the sex workers themselves, details like, flaking lips, smudged eyeliner, dirt under their nails, really underlining the harshness of their lives. And for Rahimi scenes, the review mentions handheld, shaky camera work. That adds to the feeling of her navigating this dangerous, unpredictable environment.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting and maybe quite difficult, because the film, based on this review, isn't just a serial killer story, is it? It's deeply tied into the societal context.
Absolutely. The review stakes the film inescapably tackles a huge swath of misogyny, social expectations, and religious zeal. It's baked into the story.
And how people reacted to the murders.
That's a key point.
Yes.
What's particularly compelling, and as the review notes, incredibly frustrating, is the societal reaction depicted. Many people, from officials down to regular citizens, apparently viewed the deaths of these women almost as a form of justice.
Just because of their profession.
Simply because they were sex workers.
Yeah, and that must feed right into Saeed's own mindset.
Exactly. His conviction, mentioned in the review, that he is innocent, that he did it all for God, it finds fertile ground in those attitudes.
That's disturbing.
It really is. The review highlights this element as one of the most frustrating and compelling aspects because it shows a system, or at least a segment of society, where the victims are essentially blamed.
And the impact on their families.
Also heartbreaking. The review mentions that parents sometimes wouldn't even come forward to identify their own daughters because of the shame, the stigma attached to their work.
Just awful.
Yeah.
And then there's the ending. The review describes it in a way that sounds utterly chilling.
It does. It really lands heavily. The film apparently concludes with a video Rahimi records. It's of Saeed's young son.
And what happens in the video?
The son praises his father, praises his religious devotion for getting rid of, quote, corrupt, worthless women.
Oh, no.
And then in a truly horrifying moment, he demonstrates his father's preferred method of execution on his own younger sister.
Wow. That's intense.
The impact described in the review is that it leaves you feeling utterly drained. It's clearly not trying to offer any kind of comforting resolution.
No easy answers there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It forces you to confront the disturbing ideas the film has presented head on.
So looking back at everything this review highlights, the overall impression sounds like, well, a film that's powerful, difficult, but also important.
That seems right. The review concludes it's a thrilling exploration of a familiar genre, this serial killer thriller.
Right.
But made all too real by those stunning lit performances and its unflinching look at the societal issues underneath.
Well, that was certainly an intense deep dive based on the review you shared. We've covered the film's basis in that tragic true story. It's a very unflinching and graphic style, the powerful performances at its core, and its really challenging exploration of deep-seated misogyny and those dangerous societal attitudes.
Yeah, hopefully this deep dive into the review gives you, the listener, a much clearer picture of Holy Spider's intense approach and the difficult, uncomfortable truths it really aims to explore.
It's definitely not light viewing.
No, it's certainly a film designed to provoke thought, maybe discomfort, rather than provide easy answers.
And thinking about that final scene the review describes, with Saeed's son mimicking his father, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Consider this. How does the film suggest that these dangerous ideas, the ones behind acts like Saeed's, might actually perpetuate? That they might live on, perhaps even more disturbingly, beyond the individual killer himself? It leaves you with a lingering question about the broader ripple effects of the societal views it depicts.